Good evening, everybody. Back out here working on the old MR-2 Spyder. Got her all uncovered today because today is the day that we have to take out the driver's seat, all this mess. I don't know about the carpet yet. I hadn't really made a determination. Once we get the seat out, I'm gonna look at the state of it. I'd like to keep the carpet if I can. Obviously, weight is not an issue with this build, but we got to get in there and take out the center console, the shifter. That way we can install our K-series shifter. And I got an oil filter I'm gonna put on the back there. That way we can get all the rest of this connected up, shift linkage connected up, so we can set it back down on the ground. And then I also have to clean out this part, and I have not opened this part since the day I got this car, so let's see what surprises we have. All right, let's see what we got. We've got some zip ties there. That's always a great sign, you know. Can we just take the whole thing? That's like stuck. Huh. There we go. Ooh, pretty crusty. Pretty crusty. Everything else though looks alright. What's it look like over here? Just dirty. Needs a good wash for sure before we can go taking it down the track or anything. Hopefully everything all functions. We're gonna go ahead though and get all this cleaned out of here and cleared out of here. That way we got some space to work down under here, and we can start to plan out for our future modifications here in this frunk engine bay, whatever you want to call it. Oh yeah, also I gotta fix this door. Forgot about that. One more thing to the list. Just all the little things that need to happen before we can start to drive it. So we're gonna get all this plastic cleaned out of here and the spare tire removed, so we got room for a fuel tank up here. All right, good stuff. We need to wash this, man. Before we do anything else, I'm gonna top off that clutch fluid over there. And then we just gotta wash this sucker, because this thing is disgusting, man. We're not putting that plastic back in there. We're gonna put a plate or something right here, more than likely. Something we can put our air to water on, or the tank for our air to water, and stuff like that. I eventually want to put a fuel cell up here, so we just gotta open up some of this room so we can do all that. But first we gotta strip down the full interior, get all the seats out of it, both passenger and driver, take the center console out so I can begin to remove the shifter. Gonna have to make an adapter or something to make our new shifter fit, but first we got to worry about getting this one out. Problem is, I sat here and fumbled with it for quite a while. There are actually two screws that hold the cables up above the gas tank, so I'm gonna have to drop it to be able to get those out, but otherwise got the inside cleaned out, ready to be vacuumed. Alright, so we're down here in the shop. We got a few modifications we got to make to this throttle body for it to work. So first thing first, I'm gonna go ahead and pop this the piece of throttle cable runs in right here, this whole piece. I'm gonna go ahead and take it off, because not only do I need to clock it a little bit so it'll work with our existing throttle cable with this mount, but I also need to drill this hole out a little bit, and it'll be easier to do when it's not on this throttle body. So let's go ahead and get that popped off now. Just so I remember where it was, I'm gonna mark it. Was right here, but I want that line to be right here, if possible. That ought to be enough. Let me get this side a little bit, make sure. Quite a bit larger, should be good to go. Now we just gotta take our freshly machined in there. I'm gonna call that machining. And that's how it was sitting before. We're just gonna rotate it on over, and we're gonna try this one out first. I think it's probably the best course of action. I had to be very careful with these screws. They're just super fragile and seem like they wanted to strip. Hopefully that'll be over far enough. I guess we'll see. Let's see how well our modifications worked. All right, we're good to go. Look at that. Not really any slack in there. We can adjust it later if we need to. There it is, on there with the throttle cable mounted up. Good to go. I tested the pedal. Everything works real good. Closes back all the way. We are good to go. Just enough tension. So now we can move on to the next step. Gotta get all this emissions mess out of here. All this evap canister. It's time to go. All this stuff was incredibly crusty, I think from water leaking from the top down into here, so good to get all that out. Also, it has to come out so we can drop the fuel tank. All right, time to zip out this old fuel tank. I gotta start by taking off this coolant hose right here. Get it out of the way. Had to shimmy it a little bit here because of that heater hose that goes to the heater core. If you're going to be reinstalling this tank, definitely remove it, but I figured I'd just put up with it and shimmy it around since I wasn't putting the tank back in. Overall, it was pretty easy. Now that the tank's down, we can unbolt and remove the shift cables. Fuel tank is out. As you can see, it gave me good access to all of this. I was able to unbolt the shift cables from up there and get them down. And it's pretty crazy. Nothing but that little thin firewall in between the engine and the cockpit here, I guess you could call it. But at least this opens up all this space. Got that big old tank out of here. I'm gonna go with a nice front mount fuel cell. Now it'll be easier to run the lines. And I can use this little cross brace right here to mount my fuel pressure regulator on so that I can easily get to it from inside the cab if I need to. And it'll also be outside of the cab, so I won't have to worry about it leaking in there with me. So that'll be nice. So now that I got the shifter removed out of the car, I'm gonna go ahead and make a plate so that I can convert the car over to fit our new shifter. So I'm just simply gonna take this one and set it on there because this one is bigger than the new one. I cut this plate. When I cut it, I measured to make sure it was wide enough. So when I drag it on down there right where I want it, I notice the back needs to be right here to get those bolt holes. So let's go ahead and mark that up and cut it now. We got our plate made. Now we just got to mark it for our new shifter that we're going to be using. I want to make sure and leave enough room here on the front to clear some bolts. So, got my nice new conversion plate that I made here. Just got to bolt it on down to the car. It won't be a tight fit, but it does fit. I already checked it. I made this thing in a hurry on my lunch break with all hand tools except the bench grinder, and then hit it with some Krylon, and here it is. You could definitely make a nicer one if you took your time. I was just in a hurry and wanted to get it done. I think I'm gonna go ahead and end this one off here. I got all the evap stuff out of it. I got the gas tank out of it. New shift bracket installed, throttle body back on there and installed with the throttle cable. It's coming together, folks. All I gotta do now is really throw that shifter in, go ahead, get the fuel system plumbed up, and what else? Oh, a computer, which I'm still waiting on the computer, but then we'll be ready to rock and roll. So thank you all for watching and being patient. We'll see you again real soon.